Can you hear that? Recording has started?
Got it.
Okay, so welcome everyone. Can you share? Let me see. Can I share my screen? Yes, I can. I would like to share my screen, and then Kelly can share her screen, so everybody can see me. Kelly, can you see my screen?
I can see you. Yep, for sure.
Okay, perfect. So my screen shows our picture, which is fireside chat with Jessie. Welcome to join our chat today, everyone. And today we invited Kelly to be my guest to talk about the most common concerns and most people would like to learn from Kelly is the workflow with QBOA and the clients. So today's topic is very, very wide random. This is our first session about workflow. So if you have any further questions during the whole session, and Kelly will demo most of her content first. If you have any questions, you can always type in the chat message.
Mm-hmm.
I will read the message while Kelly has the time to take the questions. Otherwise, we will take most of questions at the end. Okay, so first of all, I just want to introduce myself again. I'm Jessie Ball. I am the account manager for BC in QuickBooks Canada, and I host this fireside chat with Jessie every Friday. So today we have Kelly to talk workflow with us. So Kelly, why don't you introduce yourself to the people, because I know you are very popular. Just in case somebody haven't joined any of our QB Connect or any events, they might not know you. So why don't you start introduce yourself?
Sure. Okay. So hi, everybody. I'm Kelly, and I super appreciate you taking some time out today to chat with us about workflow. Workflow is something that I am totally geeked out on. I love developing workflows, and I could not work without a workflow. It's my passion right now, and I love helping people get it all organized. I am QBO Advanced Certified. I'm certified in T-Sheets, HubDoc. I'm working away on Receipt Bank. I'm a Pluto partner. Anyways, you get the picture. I love the cloud technology. I love the apps. I love everything it can do for us. But I really feel it can't do what we need, what we have all been told it's going to do, or it's not really going to improve our day as much as we would like if we don't have solid workflows going. So I am excited to talk about that today.
So I really like your home, like beside the lake. So how do you feel like when you start your day? I know you are like early bird. You get up super early. How do you start your day for your business and for your client in the early morning? What's the most day you do on your routine?
Yeah, I don't actually start in on my clients first thing in the morning. I have a solid routine, a workflow, if you will. I have a routine that I live and die by. I am an early bird. I get up early, and I mean, I'm not a 4:30 early bird like some of my friends, but I'm up around 5:30 or so every morning, and then I have a couple of cups of coffee while I write in my goal book. I read some articles. I goof around on Facebook and check in on some of the forums and talk with my husband for a while. That is our solid time of the day when we really get to see each other before he heads out. He leaves a lot of days at 6:30 to go. He's a fly fishing guy. And then I go for a run. And when I come back, I take a shower so that I feel like I'm like all ready for work. And then I hit the bricks here at work and literally start by opening up my browsers and opening up my workflows, my to-do list, and get going on my projects.
Wow, 5:30, that's early for me. I wake up 10 o'clock. The earliest for me is like 9:30 because I work with BC time. So I roughly come to the office like 11:30. For BC folks, it's like 8:30 in the morning. So I don't want to bother people when they just get in the office 9 o'clock. So I don't call people that time. So for me, it works out perfect. So for me,
that's great.
your time, 5:30 is super early.
Well, yeah. Well, yes and no. I mean, everybody's got their time that they get up, and it's funny. I have a couple of friends. They are super early birds. I am a super early to bed person. Like I'm in bed by 9:30 or 10. But I'm just going to hold my mama up as an example. She's a complete night hawk. She is not up in the morning, and she is super successful. So you hear all that stuff about being up in the mornings, and that makes for success. I think you got to find your own biorhythm and stick with it. But
I know.
I guess that's a whole other topic, isn't it?
Yeah. So I want to know more about why do you think every bookkeeping and accounting firm need a workflow?
Oh, okay. And I actually wrote down my talking points on that because I have a couple of reasons why I think you need a workflow. And the first one is the most obvious reason, and I think it's the reason that everybody thinks of, and that is because they want to be more efficient. So if you have a workflow and you get to work through your tasks and your emails are already ready to go, they're templated, they're part of your workflow, that is super efficient. There's no doubt about it. You just keep checking through what you're doing and you don't have to think about it, and you just know what's coming next, and it's all organized for you in a logical form. So efficiency wise, it certainly adds to the efficiency of your day. And sort of in keeping with that would be the whole peace of mind thing. So a lot of people go to bed at night and they will, just before they go to bed, maybe they'll write down what their to-dos are for the next day, or maybe they write them down at the end of their work day. If you have a workflow program, you can put in your to-dos if you want to, but essentially your workflow is your to-do list. So you know what you're going to do the next day. And you can put into the to-do portion of it what you want to do the next day, like what workflows you want to work on, if you will. But I just find that you get great peace of mind because you're not going to be dropping as many balls. You're not going to be thinking about what you have to do. You just open up those workflows and you get rolling. It sets expectations, both for you, the client, if you have team members. It sets the expectations of what needs to be done for each client, and I set out workflows for my clients so that they know what to expect as well. And then finally, and this is one that you don't hear about a lot, you can sell a solo practice. So someday if I decide I would like to retire, I have the hopes that I would sell my business, even though it's just little old me with my face hanging out, running my business all on my own. I have a hub docker. So, I do have somebody, but I don't have great plans to hire other people. If I didn't have a workflow, which then almost automatically develops your standard operating procedures, my business would be all about me. And you can't sell a business that's all about you. So if you start to develop good workflows, it will lead to standard operating practices, which will lead to the ability, I believe anyways, to be able to sell your solo practice.
That's a great point. So when did you start sorting out your own workflow for your bookkeeping business? Like when did you realize you need it, and what was the situation at the point you really, really absolutely changed your model to have all the workflow sorted out?
Well, I'm a routine person. I'm a checklist person. I think just by the nature of what we do, I would say that most bookkeepers and accounting professionals like checklists because we do tend to do the same thing. But that doesn't mean that you always remember them or that you've got them organized in an efficient manner. So I always had like somewhere that I copy and pasted emails from. So I had them in a Google Doc emails that I would send again, rather than hunting and pecking for them. For the last person that I sent it to, I would just keep all my standard emails in a Google Doc. And then I would have a Sheets form, Google Sheets. I would have Sheets set up so that I could check things off. I had always kind of had checklists, if you will, and templates. I had letters, standard letters that I sent out, all that kind of stuff. What I didn't have was a comprehensive place where it all was, and it was listed into a single workflow that I literally just worked through it and didn't have to think about it. So I started to develop my workflow not that long ago. I mean, I signed up for 17 Hats 2.5 years ago at the most. And I have been maybe not even, about 2.5 years ago, doesn't matter. And I have been working through just building on that ever since. I didn't sit down one day and just create all these workflows and create all these templates. It was a combination of creating them ahead of time and creating them on the fly. And the other thing about it is that you are pretty much always working on it. It is a developing program. Even today, I was working in a workflow that's well established for one of my cafe customers, and I added in some notes in there. I add notes into my workflow tasks as well, which I'll show you in a few minutes.
So do you use the 17 Hats majority for the pre-consultation before you take on the client?
I use 17 Hats for everything. So I use 17 Hats for engagements. I use 17 Hats for cleanup files. I use 17 Hats for my day-to-day bookkeeping clients. And I use 17 Hats workflows for, I set accounting firms up with best practices, SOPs, efficiencies, QBOA training, all that kind of stuff. So I have workflows set up for training clients individually, training individual bookkeepers, and educating and developing systems for accounting firms.
Would you like to show us a little bit example about your major function you use in 17 Hats? I can stop my sharing and you can share your screen to everybody else.
Sure. I would love to do that. And I would love to, if somebody wants to chat in some questions, if they have questions while we're going along, I would love to hear about them. So,
you can share your screen from on the right side, share screen, and pick the one monitor you want to share with everybody else.
Done.
Okay. So everybody, if you have any questions during Kellie demo the 17 Hats, please feel free to type your message in the chat. I will take your questions at the moment when she finishes the demo, okay?
So
okay,
I would like,
Kellie.
Okay, great. I would really like to start with that my clients know that I do these demos, and there's no big secrets that they are my clients or what I do for them. So don't be shocked by the fact that you're going to see my customer names. My customers write reviews for me, and we share social media stuff. So anybody whose contact you see has already given permission for me to show what it is that they're up to. What did I want to start with? So I'm going to start with my templates. No, I'm going to start with the overview. So I don't use my overview page all that much, to be perfectly honest, and everybody picks and chooses what it is that they like to do. I basically like to get down to the nitty-gritty of getting on with my workflows or my to-dos. So to-dos, I use two systems for my to-dos. I either use these to-do lists where I put stuff in here and I keep at it, or so I can do that sometimes at the end of the day if there's stuff that I really want to remember, and just as I like to call it, the get or done stuff, the stuff that still needs to be finished up right away. And then I basically move into my projects fairly quickly. That is how my day is spent, is working on my projects. So then in here is I keep my notes and I take away notes as I don't need them. I have my overview of where I am at, and don't judge me, I'm further along than this, but I can change my life cycles. I just haven't in this one because I wanted to show you guys what I could do. So I can finish up October. We are not quite done October because we're finishing up a year end. Normally we would be done by the middle of the month or the 20th at the latest, but we're just doing a year end, which takes a little longer. So like I said, I can put notes in here. I have emails. So my emails go back and forth. And then there is, now this client I'm in there on Tuesdays. I'm in once a week. So there's not a lot of emails back and forth with these guys. We just do everything when I'm in on Tuesday. But then we can get down to the nitty gritty of what I do for them. And this is what a weekly accounting cycle looks like. And you're going to kind of laugh at me, I'm sure, thinking, well, a lot of this stuff looks like pretty obvious stuff that you should do. But again, I'm speaking to the topic of not having to think about things, just checking through my list. And I'm speaking to the topic of everybody else knows what happens. Oh, I know. The other thing that I forgot to mention, the other reason that I love workflow, and I don't mean to be morbid, it's just a statement of fact. If something happened to me tomorrow or happened to my family and I could not carry on and keep things in a timely manner, I could hand off my workflow to somebody else. Somebody always knows my password information to my 17 hats, a colleague essentially, that can come in and jump in for me. So if everything is ready at the drop of the hat and there is somebody who knows what to do, I think that is so important to look after your clients that way as a sole operator of a bookkeeping practice.
Do you train them how to use 17 hats?
Do they know how to use 17 hats? Yeah, they sure do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's key. They have to know, I mean, originally you're going to have to run through basically what you do for your clients. They're going to need to have an idea of who your clients are. And yeah, they're going to have to know how to use your workflow program. What I would like to say is this is not a sales pitch for 17 hats. In my way of thinking, it does not matter what workflow program you're using. It doesn't even matter if you're using one. Cobble it together using Google Docs, Sheets, all of the your G Drive, however you need to cobble it together. The only reason I am showing you 17 hats today is because that's the one that I use. So I have no other way of showing you what I do if I don't show it to you in 17 hats. I am developing one for a show and tell, we'll call it, in practice management in QBOA as well, for anybody who's interested in using that program. But for now, we're just going to take a look at the 17 hats ones because it best explains how I spend my day.
Do you document your workflow anywhere for your team member to view, and you update it on a daily basis, just in case you have something new? Do you document your workflow anywhere?
Yeah, so let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at October may be a good example. You can see, no, October is not a great example here. So yeah, what I would do, and I actually can't show it to you in the client that I'm working on right now but I can show it to you in another client. Hold on. Let me just think about it for a second. And I'd like to say this is a fireside chat, so if I don't seem like I'm super organized, there's a good reason for it.
It's a random, just to show people what you do,
right.
Why they need a workflow. So it doesn't matter what program they use.
Right, I do have a webinar on this, but this is just kind of a fun thing. So these are the notes that I get from my clients that come in somewhere else. Let's say that they send me an email and it is not part of it. If I send an email out from 17 hats and she sends me a reply, it stays in here. If I send an email, if she just randomly sends me an email with some notes outside of 17 hats, then I keep it here as a note so that I know what I'm doing. And then when I am working through, what I would do is, if let's say that I finished off, let's say that there was 3 bank reconciliations to be done, I would say, and I had only done 2 of them, I would put a note in why it wasn't checked off and when it was going to be. So yes, I make notes on the things that aren't done. So let's say on this run, the cash drawer payout report, then if I hadn't run that cash drawer payout report, but I had started something to do with it, I would put a note in there. And I'll show you how that works. So I can edit this. So let's say I check that nothing is coded to header, and then I realized, oops, have to move out something. And then I just continue on with my note. I wouldn't have checked it off, but there would then be a reason why I hadn't done it. So yes, Jessie, to answer your question, I can keep notes in there of why something is or is not finished.
That's good. So you use the 17 hats for most of your workflow, and what's the major thing you use the most in 17 hats? I know it's not integrated with Canada yet. They only integrate with the US. So how did you make that work? 17 hats and QBO in Canada work together. How did you make it work, and what's the workaround for that?
Yeah. So look, let's go to my engagement workflow. Let's go to that. So in here is no, it's not. I'm sorry. So there's an example. So what I do is I send the invoice. So I have an email. Let me go back to templates. And sorry if I'm jumping around here a little bit. I have a template. I do have one. I should have thought that you might ask that question. So essentially what I have,
Okay.
and I'm not gonna torture everybody with looking at it. I copy the link out of QBO. I do all of my invoicing and estimating in QBO. I don't actually use the bookkeeping aspect of 17 hats. I just think,
okay.
yeah, I mean, QBO has a great system for estimating that you can then turn into an invoice that you can then make recurring for the client that goes out to them every month, and they can pay it so easily. I just love everything about QuickBooks Online for doing that. So I saw no need to take that out of QuickBooks Online and bring it into the bookkeeping program here. So what I do is I embed a link from the copy link that you can do out of the invoice. I have a template email where I embed that link into it. So I jump out, I do the invoice, I copy the link, I put it into the template email, and it is part of one of the workflows, and off it goes.
So it's not it's like you don't integrate anything to QBO. You use them separately.
Yeah, I use them separately, completely. Yep. And in terms of sharing them as a CRM, and I will say QBO has a great CRM program. If you use QBO properly, if you get all the information into your customers properly, it's a pretty darn good CRM. What I do, though, to capture the information, I mean, in the beginning, I downloaded my file from my contacts. I uploaded it. I edited out who I didn't want in 17 hats, and then it was seamless to get my contacts in. If I have new ones, I do have to create them in both places. It is super easy to create them on the fly, though. In here, I have people fill out my lead capture form.
Yeah.
So, and then you can embed the lead capture form wherever you want. So, and you can even send it out in an email. Actually, I picked the wrong example. You can copy out this.
Oh, really?
Not that it matters to you. You can just copy that out and paste it in wherever you want, and you can send an email. I keep it on my home screen on my phone so that if somebody is asking about it and we're out somewhere, we can fill it in right on my phone, whatever. You can put them everywhere. So that's how I get contacts into there. And then I turn those lead contacts into a customer really quickly.
Does the 17 hats has the template for engagement letter, for questionnaire?
No.
So before you create your own, do they have any template you built on?
No. My templates are in the vetting stage right now with 17 hats to go into their marketplace. I don't know what the holdup is right now. They've been in that space in hold pattern for a month and a half at least, but they keep telling me that they are going to be available soon. So there will be templates in 17 hats. They're mine, and then you can bastardize them as however you feel like. But it's a pretty good starting point. Yep.
Is there anything else you want to show us in the 17 hats?
Actually, what I'd love to talk the topic I'd love to cover more than that, because this isn't really a thing and I'm sorry. That's Sanya from Intuit. I meant to turn my phone off. So, I don't want to talk too much about 17 hats. 17 hats is really just to
It's one tool you use, right? There's so many other tools out there for workflow. So this is just one thing you use, and you're very good at it.
Yeah, well, I bonded with it. So I would love to take a super quick run through of can everybody see what I've got going on now?
Yes.
I would love to take a super quick run through, and some of you guys, I hate that term. I'm trying to come up with a term other than you guys. So some of you accounting professionals have seen my list before, but I'd love to take a quick run through, and if anybody wants my deck, they are more.
Bye, hon. Have a good day.
They are more than welcome to have it. So
okay, so if anybody needs your the deck, they can put any request in the chat, and then I can collect the names and send to you, so you can know who wants it. You can send out an email to them.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'll send that out. Maybe I'll give everybody until like Wednesday to let me know that they want it, and then I'll send it all out in one email because I'm lazy.
Okay.
I'm alone with an order.
Okay.
I will send you a list.
Okay, so this is what I would love everybody to do is there's a ton of good products out there. So pick one.
Oh.
Just stop overthinking it. Just pick an app, or don't pick an app. Just start making yourself some lists and some tasks and some to-dos. Like I said, start creating that list. Never compose an email twice. As I mentioned, I would love if you just started to, if you know you're going to send an email a second time,
it's new.
Make a copy of it, even into just a document in Google. Clean up your contacts. It's a really good idea to get your contacts in good working order, because then you can communicate more clearly with them, and you know who is an active client, who isn't an active client, who needs more attention, what information you're missing from them. So those would be my big 4 to start with. And I'm going to show you the other 12 steps, but I really, really, really don't want anybody to get too, I don't want you to care too much how many steps there are. I just want you to pick a few. And like I said right here, choose the easiest one, chunk it off or you can delegate it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So we've already talked about that. Stop overthinking. Just get on with doing something. Never compose an email twice. So start creating a list of your tasks and to-dos. Once you have this process started, like I said, I add to it all the time. Today in my regular cafe, one of my regular cafe clients, I was adding some useful notes in there as I was thinking about it. I just keep building and building on this, and I do it on the fly. Sometimes I have a piece of paper, I have the tiny little, I'm not sure if everybody's seen the Wage Point notebooks. They're terrific. I can write a note in there, and they're little tiny pages. So I write my note, and then when I have a second to put it into a task management program, I just get it in there. And then that little note just gets to get thrown away. So I'm not collecting all these little lists and getting overwhelmed with them. Actually, this is something I would like to show you. What you can do with the workflows is you could take, so I have a standard workflow, and I have them set up because I love doing restaurants, because I love food. So because I love the whole process of the restaurants go through. So I have a cafe one set up. I have a manufacturing one set up, and then I have a standard cloud accounting cycle. I can take this cloud accounting cycle, and this, by the way, when you see the word KP, this is one of the templates that's going to be available in 17 hats. So what you're seeing right now is exactly what is going to be set up in 17 hats. So fun little notes too. So this is all of the stuff that is in here, including some best practices, or no, I couldn't put too many notes in here because this is going to go to other people. This is also going out to the US market as well. So you can
there's
see.
a question so far from Art. He's asking the engagement letter, if you can get a e-signature from the client through 17 Hats.
Yes.
Is it very easy to set up?
Yes, super easy. So give me 2 seconds just to run through. You can see even in reconcile credit cards, reconcile bank accounts, I try to make sure that their standard operating procedure kind of written right in, right? Reminding the user there shouldn't be unclear transactions unless, they're checks or something that that let's say payroll, they just haven't cashed them. So that's then what you can do, and this happens in most of the programs. So I'm showing you 17 Hats. This happens in most of the programs. Once you start to develop a workflow, you can duplicate it. And then when you duplicate that workflow, and we're going to call this copy. And again, this is standard procedure. So now we're in the copy of it. You can rename it whatever you want. And then you can go in and you can delete items. So you can delete that. And then let's say we want to add something in there. And you can add in whatever these things are. And then it's going to ask you for the email. And again, this is standard procedure in a lot of the workflow apps. So then you get down here, but you don't really pay vendor bills for this client. You can take it out. So once you build out that first workflow, it is so easy to then customize it to each client. So the big takeaway for that is just start to build one out, and then the duplicating, customizing, making it everything you want it to be is so easy after that. Let's take a look at the templates for the documents, and I'll show you where that is. And sorry, that is. So in the contracts, yes, you can, let's just take a look at this one. Oh, there we go. So this will automatically have a signature here. So what you can do is 3 ways of getting it signed so that I sign it upon creation so that it goes out to the client. When that goes out to the client, there is a thing at the bottom where they can sign it. It will have a little area that they type in their name, and then it comes back to you and it shows as signed. So that is the story on that, Art. Yes, the short answer, which I had to turn into a long answer, of course, is yes, you can have them signed in here.
So I have another question from Michelle. She's asking, did you say that your standard cloud accounting cycle is already available in 17 Hats?
No, it's not available yet. I don't really know what the holdup is. They're changing how their template marketplace works. I'll certainly let you know when it is available. I will tell you, and this is an American version, Marietta Martinez, her engagement program is available as a template in 17 Hats right now.
Oh,
so there is an engagement process in there. Yeah, it's American, but it is in there.
And Marjorie said, hey, Kelly, how did you get so smart?
Hey, Marjorie, I learned all my tricks from you.
So another question for me, I want to know is, have you tried the QuickBooks QBOA work, which is our own practice management? What's your experience about that?
Yeah, my experience with that is in the beginning, certainly it wasn't there so that I could really get into it. I was part of the beta program, but it didn't have a lot of the features that I needed. They are building that out nicely. And the stuff, that's why I'm going to develop some workflows and some stuff in there to really practice using it. It has some great features. I mean, the fact that it ties in with, and I wish I could demo it for you. There's lots of demos on it right now. But the fact that you can tie that into right into your client, it knows what's going on with your client. You can, when you're working in it, if it tells you that you need to do something, it jumps you right into your client to do it right in the books. It is, it's going to be built out as a terrific product. There's no doubt about it. I just can't demo it right now. The fact that it's got its recurring tasks now is terrific. The document portal is awesome. I love the document portal. I love notes in there. There is lots of great stuff in work or practice management, whatever you want to call it, and they are only going to make that product better.
So if anybody on this session right now, you need to know more about QBOA practice management. The name is Work. Let me know. I will see if I can find some official video to demo the feature, or you can also just go to our events, all our QuickBooks official events like the QB Connect Toronto coming up, and January 22nd to 23rd, Get Connected Vancouver. We will have this demo at the conference as well.
Okay. Can I work through a few of my other little lecturous notes here?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I have client workflows. And the reason that I have those, my client workflows, I can't do anything without them. The cloud accounting programs, it's a two-way street now. You are a team with your clients. Everything can be done in real time, but they have to get you stuff on a more timely basis. And the beauty of that is I find that the clients are way more involved with their books. They know what's going on with their books. But they are part of your team. So you really need to start to make a list of what your client tasks and to-dos are. My clients get a handbook. So they have a handbook, and in there is best practices. But there is also a workflow in there, and with full explanation of dates, how they do it, and what the next steps are. So manage their.
When did you send out this to-do list to your client? Is at the beginning of your engagement letter, or is in the middle when you already get everything set up for them, then you give them a to-do list?
Yeah, it is. They do get it in the beginning. They get it at the beginning of every year, like they actually get it, and then I remind them to look at it. And they get it at the beginning of their fiscal year, so whenever that is. And then it is also a link on a lot of my emails, so it's really easy for them to find. Pretty much all the client-facing emails from me have a link to my handbook on it, so they have easy access to it to remind themselves what needs to be done, also to remind themselves of best practices. A copy of their engagement letter is in it, all that kind of stuff. A standard copy of the engagement letter.
So when you send the to-do list, what if the client doesn't follow your instructions? What are you going to do?
You can lead a cow to water, right? I don't have that many clients, and my clients are pretty engaged in their books. I have a couple that are a little tardy, but for the most part, and again, it's easy for me to manage because I just don't have that many, but I feel it's scalable. Like if you have an accounting firm, your bookkeepers, to my way of thinking, would have, probably the same amount of clients each that I have. So if your bookkeepers are managing each of their clients, then hopefully they're engaged with their clients and they can bring their clients into line too. Because, we can't make stuff up, right? You need the stuff from your client. And I just find if they know what it is that has to, and they have a place that they can go and they can look and they can say, oh yeah, right, I forgot to get her that. If they have a list that they can check off every month with their deadlines, it's only going to help, right? It can't hurt would be the best advice I have. Clean up your contacts. We already talked about that. I also love, I have a, outside of 17 Hats, I have like just a Google Sheets with all of my basic client information on it as well. So that, again, there's like a big picture look at it. It's not just about that particular client when you're in your CRM. I like to have one form where all of my client information is on there, including what I'm charging them every month. And then I have, then I sum it up just to make sure I'm making enough money. No, just to remind myself why I do this. So this is create the spreadsheet. Compose a list of your pain points in your day. Every time something irritates you or you're dropping the ball, trying to figure out where you left off on a file, what is it in your day that is slowing you down or irritating you, or what can be made more efficient? Again, even just either keep a Google Doc open for now to list out just because we've all got dual monitors now, I hope. Sorry, that was my other lecture of the day. And you've got your dual monitors with your Chrome browser up and running and your identities going. So keep something open, or sometimes I just write down pain points on a piece of paper. Again, I've got those little wage point notebooks, and I just write down something that I could do better on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to get done, is really. Compose a list of what you want your ideal business app. So that kind of goes back to, what are your pain points? What are the things that are slowing you down? What do you need to do? And what could fix that for you? So at the bottom of this deck, I do have a list of what my wish list is, and a very, very brief, I'm building this list out. I have a very brief list of what apps can fill my pain points, what I want in my ideal business app. So that is something that I'm working on as well. I'm building out a list of the apps that solve certain pain points really well. Stop overthinking. I know, I'm lecturous about it. At a glance to-do list. I already showed you my to-do list. It is just, let's just get back
that's
up.
a long, big list.
Yeah, my templates, I just keep adding to them. I'm like the template queen. I never do something twice. But again, a to-do list, I love having a to-do list, and then I love using it, and it makes it really easy to see what's next. Get a second monitor. So there it is. I know I lecture about the second monitor, but we don't have a pile of paper anymore. Our second monitor is our pile of paper, or your notepad, whatever you want to consider it. Stop overthinking. Sorry. And then, so anyways, any questions so far?
You have answered the questions during the demo, so most of the questions has been answered. So that's one right now is everybody wants your slides, your deck. Okay,
that's great. I would love if everybody had my deck. I would love if people gave me feedback on my deck. And like I said to somebody who I asked for feedback the other day, I have a super nice husband. He's like the most awesome guy. He's fun and funny, and he's always really, really nice to me. So he would look at my deck and he would say, oh, that's just perfect. Well, that's not going to help me. I know. So if somebody wants to send me some things I can do to improve my deck, it is only going to improve it for everybody, because I love sharing this. And again, I am building out, so just, you can send me an email that says, you have too many words in it. Although my deck isn't really a deck. My deck is practically a handbook to take away. So I'm probably not going to knock back the content count. But if you know of an app, because I really want to build out that list for people, give people some options. So if you know of an app that solves some of these wish list items, send me back a note on that. If you see a spelling error, send me back a note on that. You don't even have to say, hey, Kelly, thanks so much for the deck. I noticed this. You can just say, hey, Kelly, you're a dork and you spelt this word wrong. Whatever works for you, just send me some feedback. So let's talk about.
The question say, what is a hub docker?
What's a hub docker? Yeah, so I have somebody who put stuff into HubDoc for me. Especially last year, I took on too many cleanup files all at once. And if you take on a cleanup file and you got to get some stuff in there, get a HubDocker. Just teach somebody to use the HubDoc app, and then teach them how to code it the way you want things coded. So that's a hub docker.
Is that a virtual assistant for you, or they work together with you in the office?
As a general rule, it is the reason you're putting this stuff into HubDoc is because it's hard copies. So, I mean, sometimes there's email invoices that can be forwarded, but for the most part, you're going to have to meet with somebody. They can take the work away. They don't have to hang out here. But either way, it certainly takes a workload off that is easy to delegate. That's a big win to delegate that one.
Yeah, we have recently, I have one of a new QBO adapter and asked me questions. How do you teach the client do not bring the shoebox or the hard copy of the bank statement and receipt? How do you teach them get used to take a picture and will scan to them, not stack of the papers? How did you have this conversation with your clients when you started?
I spend a lot of upfront time with my clients, so I'm hoping for the ROI later. I spend a lot of time working with my clients in the beginning because they are going to be so engaged in their bookkeeping now. So my clients essentially know how to use HubDoc as well as I do. They know how to use Pluto as well as I do. They know how to use WagePoint better than I do because I just tell them that they're going to use WagePoint and then they go off and they do that. I have some people in QBO payroll as well, and they do their own payroll in QBO. And then I show them the basics in QBO as well. My clients are responsible for updating their bank feed once a week on the same day every week, so that and HubDoc, they have to check and make sure that the connections are working in HubDoc, and they know how to fix those connections so that those are always running, or they can call me if it looks like it's a connection that can't be fixed, whatever. My clients go through their bank feeds. They do not touch them, but they know what's going on in their bank feeds all the time. And so I spend a lot of upfront time with my clients, just making sure they know how to use these programs. So
you teach them use apps as well? Other than QBO, you train them, you teach apps?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you charge them when you do the training?
Yeah, well, and in QBO, what I do with them too is it really depends on what my engagement is with them. So if they are going to be creating their own invoices, then I want them to be receiving their own payments. And I have them put them into undeposited funds so that I can deal with them from there and match them up. A lot of them know how to pay their own bills, especially if they're using Pluto. It's a pretty seamless process. So for the most part, they are fairly engaged in their books as well. None of them obviously are, well, not obviously, that was kind of, they're not reconciling. They're not, I run through their balance sheet with them. I check their clearing accounts for them. I keep their due to shareholders in line, that kind of thing. But
do you charge them for training, or is it part of your package when they sign up your engagement?
They get a half price training program. But then their training program is more, and then they're welcome to call me if they're struggling with the app or with the programs as well. I just if it's a really higher level client, let's say I'm going to take on somebody that's going to be, a bigger client in terms of money and time for me, then I probably wouldn't charge them for training. It's all relative. If they're a $250 a month client, then yeah, I'm going to charge them for training. But I want them to be well educated, because the $250 a month clients are the ones that are going to be doing the most in their programs. They are the ones who should be the most engaged.
That's true. So what I hear is, looks like your client, they are very engaged to do their own tasks assigned to them, like they are more tech savvy, and they are willing to learn to use apps. How did you select those clients? I know not all clients want to do those things.
It was an evolving process. And I will say a couple of my clients aren't tech savvy. So what I did with them, actually, we were having fun the other day. My client that I first put on QBO, I do most of her bookkeeping. She's a full cycle client. She does hardly anything. But as we've added things on, like she or her assistant do all the hub docking. They get everything into HubDoc. So we developed a system to make that work for her. And she does not go into HubDoc and take a look at stuff once it's in there. It's up to me to manage her HubDoc, although she goes in once a week and makes sure the connection is running. She is not all that engaged in QBO, but what we did do this week, and it was super fun, is I've been nagging her to get onto Pluto, and she just kept not getting her ID in there. So this week we called Pluto together on speakerphone and had, actually we had a great little time with Pluto. Charmaine at Pluto was awesome. We both beat poor Chef Alana up trying to get her organized and on Pluto. And then we got Pluto running. And the minute she was looking at it, she's like, well, why haven't I been using this? So sometimes there's tech reluctance. There's no doubt about it. But I spent a lot of time sitting down working with them for sure.
Well, how did you pick your client? So not everybody you want to take as your client, right? Is like some questionnaire you send out before you actually take on the client? Or how do you weed out the client you don't want to?
You know what? It hasn't really been a big issue for me. It's naturally evolved. So
I guess maybe because your website stays very clear.
So what happens with me now is I'm not actively taking on new clients. Really, I mean, I had a couple of leads this week come through the ProAdvisor site, so that's great. And I did follow up with them, and what I'm doing is actually having meetings more than questionnaires. We have some telephone meetings set up for both of those that came through this week, and we'll see how that goes. What I do take on is cleanup clients, and then if the cleanup clients, once we're done and we're rolling, if it looks like they are going to be as engaged in their books as I am, then we'll have the discussion about keeping them on. So I don't have a tried and true system for it, but I'm not building my practice like some of the people out there. I don't want to have staff. So I don't really have a good answer for any of that on finding and keeping clients seems to not be a problem for me. I've had the same.
As long as you are great. Happy with all those clients and then you keep them, everybody's happy. So
yeah.
And the other question I have is, do you have any recommendation for the workflow for certain industry? I don't know whether there's some industry you are most passionate about, you are more than happier to work with, and do you have any workflow for that specific industry?
No, not really. I mean, just the accounting profession. That's where I'm concentrating on getting the workflows going. What I do with my clients, though, is I do analyze what they're doing. So my husband is a fly fishing guide. He's on 17 hats, and it works great because he's a service industry. One of my restaurants was having trouble with the handbooks for the clients. They didn't really have a handbook or a hiring process or any of that. We actually set up 17 hats for them for a hiring process so that everything is seamless and all the next steps are known to happen. So if I can help them industry-wise with their workflow, then that's great. So I guess yes, I do help, like the restaurants have a few things, kitchen procedures, all that kind of stuff can be done in 17 hats. But outside of that, no, I'm not working with any other industries.
Oh, I see. So do you have anything else you would like to show for the rest of us? We are having 5 minutes only, that's it.
Wow. Man, I can talk. Okay, so I want to run through what my workflow wish list is then. So rock solid workflow, obviously. I want great email program in it because I don't think the workflow is going to work without a great email program. I want, what else? Solid email program. Oh yeah, emails to and from. I want to be able to really customize my emails when they go out. I want user level permissions so that my clients can be included in the workflow. I want a client portal that's two-way. My clients can upload. I've got a workaround on that right now. That workaround being that I'm using Google Drive with where they can upload stuff to it as well, and then they can comment on the, you know, how you have a document that then you need the client to answer some questions. Maybe it's their clearing account, whatever the case may be. CRM with custom fields. A lot of them, the custom fields, the emails, the notes, they're all stored by the project. I want them stored by the CRM, by the customer. Lead capture, 17 Hats is awesome. I love a good lead capture, especially with the training that I do. Templates, I want 1,000 templates in there. I do not want to do something twice. Calendar sync, and they all sync. In product scheduler, I would love if there was something like Calendly built right into the program. Boards or tiles, so that you can move things around the way you want them, and a to-do list that is not part of a project or any of that other stuff. And I think that's it.
Wow, that's a lot of information. Well, I think this is all for today. And so everybody, you can find Kellie in our accounting group on Facebook, QBO in Quinty, and QBHQ. Also, Kellie will be a speaker at QB Connect Toronto, which is December 4th to 6th. If you're attending our conference, you can always join Kellie's session to have further discussion with her in person.
Yeah, actually, my session is on optimizing your Chrome browser. Huge productivity win if you have your browser optimized. And so I would love if people join me for that. I know a lot of you saw that session at Ignite anyways. But if anybody wants to talk workflow, you can come up to me the entire QB Connect and I will happily talk workflow. And I'm putting together sort of a casual thing, don't even have a time or date for it, but email me if you would be interested in a 17 Hats demo while we're at the conference, and we'll try and put a time together for that.
Oh, that's awesome. You offer that. I will definitely collect all the information. So for everybody who already requested the deck, I will send a list to Kellie. So she will consolidate everybody's email, then send out the deck to everyone who need it.
That's great. Thank you, Jessie, for having me. And thank you so much to everybody for coming today. I know it's Friday afternoon, so I really appreciate you spending your time here.
Well, we really appreciate your time, and you're passionate about how to sort it out the workflow for most people, because I know I struggle in my work, even though I don't do the accounting, but I struggle the to-do list. I struggle how to be more efficient all the time, even though I'm supposed to be very efficient. So thank you for your time. And I will just see you in Toronto. So bye, everybody. I will send out the deck for the Kellie to send you the whole presentation, and we'll see you in Toronto.
Okay, bye.